computer. Recording in progress. Jordan, can you just tell me what, from your experience, what do you find are the biggest challenges with the initial consultation process?
It varies depending on the client that comes in. Sometimes it's definitely just breaking the ice and building that rapport. So some clients come in, they're very open, ready to go straight away. Some clients I sit down with, they just take a bit of time. So body language is very like that, kind of like there's a wall that needs to be broken down. Sometimes it's that, sometimes it's breaking down beliefs like, oh, I'm doing this, this, and this, it should be working. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then sometimes people kind of come in the screen, they try to tell me how it's going to run. I'm like,
yeah, right. Okay.
No, so just trying to grab that authority early.
Yeah.
So we don't set a precedent that they'll be telling me how to coach them.
Yes. Yes. There are certain personality types that just can't help themselves.
Yeah. Some people come in as very much, I know what I'm doing, I know my stuff. And then they'll start telling me things. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like you do.
Yeah. Okay. And do you enjoy the process?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. And just tell me, so a client someone's coming in. A client gets signed up. They get assigned to a trainer.
Yep.
And then the first time you meet them is for the initial consult?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. And when you go through the document, are you doing that on a computer or by hand?
Laptop.
Laptop. Are you just ticking boxes as you go?
Yeah, making notes, ticking boxes.
Yeah. And how closely do you stick to the plan?
To be honest, probably 50-50. So I go through the questions, but I don't just sit there and read the questions word for word.
Yeah.
Over time, as I've learned it, I can pretty much do it without it open in front of me.
Yeah.
So I kind of just phrase it and level it based on what I see in front of me.
Yeah.
So some people who are very, like, for lack of a better word, robotic, I'll stick closer to word by word. But if they're pretty open, I'll just reword things in my own words, give a different energy to it.
Yeah.
So 50-50 depends on what I gauge.
Yeah. You've been doing it for a while, so you're pretty comfy with the process.
Yeah.
Hey, Josh, how are you, mate?
Hey.
Got the hoodie on. Yeah, cool. Mate, how long have you been working there for?
It's a bit cold.
Can you just let me know how long you've been working?
Well, I've just started, so yeah, I've just started. I haven't got any clients yet, so I'm just waiting for a client.
Yeah.
And then I should be getting started soon, yeah.
Okay, fresh meat. Awesome. Bailey, what about you, mate? What are the challenges that you find with the initial consult process?
Yeah, basically exactly what Jordan said. Sometimes clients are harder to open up to. So of course they're meeting us for the first time and expecting us to help them straight away. And it's hard when they don't open up to us. So the more we know about them, the more we can help. And if they are closed off, there's only so much we can do. And then again, exactly what Jordan was saying, they're limiting beliefs for something, maybe nutrition or the way the exercises are. And even lifestyle habits. So they're stuck in their ways, and it's sometimes hard for them to get out of what they've been doing. And then coming into a new change, that's sometimes difficult. In saying that, I've actually had a client that stopped training, and she's only been in for a week because she was very obsessed with what she was doing before. And then we built this new routine with nutrition training, and she couldn't do it because it was something new, and she would get too overwhelmed, anxiety would go, obsessiveness would go crazy. So that was hard to manage, but that's probably what would be the hardest, is building rapport, breaking limiting beliefs that are already there.
Yeah.
And getting the client to really open up. Because of course we are a coach, but it's not just sometimes about training, nutrition. It's of course lifestyle habits.
Yeah.
What you do day in, day out will really take a toll on everything. So doing mainly that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Hey, Casey, how are you?
Thank you. Hello.
Yeah, good. How long have you been working there for?
I think just a year.
A year.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Right. So from what the guys have said about their challenges with the initial consult, about anything particular that stands out for you?
Yeah, like pretty much what they said, but I think for me, the issue I have is I think my clients intimidate me a lot more than I intimidate them.
Right.
Just because I struggle to like be confident, like with like meeting new people and everything. So I think that's where I lack a lot is like having that authority with them as soon as they come in. Like I'm a little bit shy and don't really open up. And
Yeah.
then I feel like some of them kind of like just wait for me and they're like, is she going to talk more? Like I try, but I think my issue is I just get too nervous.
Sure. And is that just your nature as a person, or are you not quite comfortable with the process itself?
No, that's just me as a person.
That's you. Okay. All right. No dramas. Well, you're the coach. You got to hold the space. Casey, what any challenges that you find with the initial consult process?
Maybe one problem that I had in the past was just clients not actually knowing what their goal was. So they would tell me something, but as we went down the track, what they said on day dot has actually changed, and I didn't check in to see what had changed. So I was still going with the initial wanting to recomp when they didn't actually want to recomp. They actually wanted to lose weight. So them not seeing the scale drop drastically freaked them out, but they were actually recomping.
Okay, cool. All right, no worries. All right, well that gives me some stuff to work with. So, Jordan, I'll ask you, mate. What do you reckon the best way here is? Should I open up the actual document itself, and should we start going through it, and we can just go section by section? If anyone has wants to expand on it, and I'll give my 2 cents on what I think about these sections, and then we'll just work our way through the document.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to put everyone else on blast here. Sorry, guys. I think as well, maybe put everyone on the spot a little bit. I know with these guys, they might not ask a question straight away.
Yeah.
If they have it.
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe do that, but you might need with a few of them to, okay, Bailey, tell me, what do you think about this?
Why are we asking this question, do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, no dramas. All right, that's what we'll do. So, okay. So can you guys see that?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is what kind of like what it looks like. You guys have it in like a Google Drive or something, right? And you go through and tick these boxes.
Yeah.
Okay. So what sort of ratio out of the people that come in are doing physique comp compared to just like a gen pop body transformation, would you say?
I would say probably 1 in 25, like less than 10%.
Right. So the vast majority are just general population body composition clients.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing to recognize, and I guess so if this is relevant for you, is that when they come in there, they're actually they're quite nervous. They've already signed on the dotted line and they've spent some money, but they'll be a little bit concerned about the process, not quite sure what they're getting into, and they'll carry in a whole lot of beliefs and things that they have. So it's just nice to be aware that they might be feeling a similar level of anxiety as to you are, and that's okay. You just take your time to work your way through it and just be calm. Take your time. So how much body weight do you want to lose? Obviously, it's great to have a specific number. So the first thing that I do, if someone comes in and they say they've got a specific number of weight they want to lose, I'll make note of that so that when we go to the actual the date, we'll get to the section when you're asking about dates and how long we're working with. I'll be able to make a realistic assessment as to whether that goal is realistic within their time frame. But I think for you guys, everyone who signs up, they're signing up for a 13-week initial program.
Yep.
Yeah. So you figure out how much weight they want to lose, and immediately off the bat, you should be thinking about, okay, how realistic is this within a 13-week phase, and is this person a longer-term project? And obviously, we want them to be long-term projects because client retention is what we're after. So this is more of a feeling question. How do you currently feel with your body health and fitness? Bailey, I'll ask you, mate. When you ask this question, do you find that people open up with how they actually feel about themselves?
To an extent, yes. So they'll go straight away of feeling sluggish, sleep this, energy's bad, headaches, blah blah blah. But of course, there's a deeper answer to it, really, of how they're really feeling with their health, body, and fitness. They'll just touch base. So, like I said, like, oh, energy's bad, sleep's bad. I want to fix all those things, which also those things are great to know. So I note them down. But questioning that first question straight away wouldn't open up straight away to an extent. No.
I don't reckon I would open up too much if I got asked that question. I'd be like,
Yeah.
well, I feel a little bit out of shape at the moment. I feel like
Yeah, exactly right.
a little bit of extra body fat, but I'm not going to dive straight into, well, I'm going through some trauma at the moment and this is impacting blah 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 blah. So I wouldn't be expecting too much there. However, question 7, how do you want to feel with your body? I think that's where people might start to open up a little bit. Has anyone had that experience?
Yeah, I've had that a few times where I'm like, okay, how do you want to feel? And they're like, yeah, this and this, because at the moment I feel like this, and that'll kind of blow open the previous question.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And I guess as the consult goes on, there's a few more questions when they get to the why questions where you can start to expand on that. So you just make a little note, have that in the back of the head so that you've got a frame of reference to come back to later in the consult. Well, here we go. Why do you want to achieve this goal? Are you doing it for yourself or for a friend or a loved one? Soph, how do you go when you're asking these sorts of questions?
Majority of when I ask them that question, majority of them just say like, oh, I'm doing it for myself. Like, I want to feel better. I want to have more energy. Or it's either like very rarely some of them say, oh, I'm doing it like for a friend or a loved one. It's usually just for themselves. And if they have young kids, to enjoy life with their kids and like get around and run around with them, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty much what they say to me.
Yeah. I think from Mick's perspective, when he puts a question like this in, knowing how he thinks about hierarchy of values and what's important to people in their lives, this question is all about, like, is this this fitness journey that they're embarking on actually aligned with their current values? Do you know what I mean? Like, so if they say they're doing it for their family, or they have got small kids and they want to do that, then you'll know that that family is quite high on their list of values. And then what that might mean is that if things get difficult to time, or they're in a situation where they have to choose between training or a kid or something like that, quite often they'll choose their family over the actual training side of things. So it's just nice to be aware of that. Okay. Numbers focused or feeling focused, quantitative or qualitative? Casey, what do you find more people are numbers focused or more about how clothes are fitting and stuff like that?
I think they'll say how they feel, but if the numbers show something else, then they'll freak out.
Yeah, right.
Everyone says it's about how they feel. They don't care what the number says, but they do.
They do. Yeah. I guess, people who are prepping for comps and stuff like that, they tend to be a little bit more numbers driven with everything. They want data and feedback, but a little bit of a combination of both, I think, is a good way to track progress. Physique composition, do you have a show date in mind? So even for a general population client, I would be asking here, are there any other significant life events coming up that you can place a date on? So you've got your 13 weeks that they're already committed to, but then further down the line, is there a birthday or a wedding or a holiday or anything that's traveled, anything that's planned? If you can find things that are a little further in the future, like a 6-month goal or something like that, that's great, just to place a pin in and know that over the course of the 13 weeks, you can start just asking a few questions about this holiday or the wedding or the thing that's coming up, and start laying out the groundwork for a re-sign and getting this getting a longer term periodization model in place that they can actually work towards a goal. So I'm always trying to find goals to actually reverse engineer a body comp process to through periodization models, basically. So it's good to. I would always be asking what sort of dates are in mind, what's coming up, just to have a few markers to work towards. Okay, for the physique comp, well, I mean, we'll have a quick look at this one. Why do you want to compete? Who does comp prep here?
Oh, as in a coach who actually does it.
Yeah, no, like as an actual coaching. Yeah, Jordan.
Yeah.
So, what do you find people are answering here?
Well, I've only had one so far who wants to go on and compete.
Right.
He just kept saying, "I want to win."
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you've got this yeah. So he wants to get a podium finish. So it's great to have people like that because they're super psyched up and they're pumped for it. But what you're really after is to improve from last physique competition.
Yeah.
If you get people who are ticking that box, then you know that they're focused on the process, and it's all just about ticking the boxes and being consistent. And there's less emotion involved in the whole thing, which is I think a more stable place to be. Just
Want to
focus on the
maximize
process.
their
Yeah.
potential.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Because there's so many variables in terms of a podium finish or getting a pro card, right? All you can do is just do your absolute best, and each time you get up there, be better than you were last time. Photo shoots. Are there many people doing photo shoots?
Not much.
Not that many. Or a few?
Just a handful, yeah. Mainly it's general pop or physique competition.
Okay. Athletes, probably not that applicable here.
I've had a couple, but
Okay. All right. Strength lifts. Okay. We'll just move on. Right. Current scale weight, minimum goal weight, maximum goal weight. Okay. So minimum goal weight, maximum goal weight. Who haven't? Josh, I'll just chuck you under the bus, mate. With asking these sorts of questions, why would you want to be, do you think, identifying a minimum goal weight and a maximum goal weight?
Well, so like if a client wants to, like say, I don't know, wants to get down to 90 kg, setting that as like their maximum weight that they want to like achieve, would just be like not setting like setting like a realistic goal, you know what I mean? So like if they're not reaching that goal, okay, well there's the minimum and then there's the maximum. So like as long as you're getting in between there, then the client should be somewhat happy.
Yeah, exactly. So you're setting some expectations that are realistic that you can work within, but what you're also doing is identifying targets that might take a longer period of time. So once again, it's this periodization thing. So you're trying to identify how much time you have to work with a person, and realistically how much weight they can lose over that period of time. So it gives you a framework to assess how realistic their goals are with what they've actually signed up to. And then if they have a big goal, it's going to take time, then you know that if you do the right job with this person, that they could be a long-term client that you could take all the way through that journey. So that's kind of what I would be thinking there with minimum and maximum goal weights. And you can also, the other thing that enables you to do is say, okay, well, to achieve the maximum goal weight, that would require the full compliance, full calories, macros, gold standard, not miss a training session, do the absolute, and explain what's involved in that process. And you can, and I always say that, and then I'll ask them, so how realistic is that sort of approach to you? And then you can start to figure out, whether they're committed, like how committed are they to this actual goal. Height, clothing size, goal clothing size. Okay. Which best describes your dedication? Here we go. Which best describes your dedication when following a plan? I'm all about balance, sustainability. I don't care about the rate of progress. In between that and having, and I want to have a balance, but we'll put in effort most of the time. To I will do whatever it takes to get the best results possible without compromising my health. So, Jordan, I'll ask you because you've probably dealt with the most clients. When you ask this question, what box gets most frequently ticked?
To be honest, the third one,
right,
followed by the second one. But I find a lot of people who tick the third one end up being more the second one.
Yeah. It's a rare bird that really does tick that box and actually fill it the whole way.
Yeah.
There's a couple of people that have the psychology to do it, and there's those who have a specific goal, like a photo shoot or a comp, that there's enough pressure around that they actually do that. But for
I'd say it's 60% the third one, 40% the second one. I don't really have anyone that ever ticks the first one.
Yeah, right. How many? Yeah. How many people, even though they don't tick that box, actually end up following the plan that's a little bit more like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. People kind of trickle down.
Trickle down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you find that you get like 13 weeks, that first phase, good compliance, and then if they're re-signing, that starts to trickle down a little bit then, or will it trickle down over the actual course of their that initial block?
Get a mix of it. I've got one client in particular who pretty much came in and was like, yep, I'm ready to go, do what it takes, all or nothing. And pretty much from day dot, it was like, I could tell it was, no, he values coming for the training session escape, kind of a crazy work style. But I've had other clients who have been really on top of it for the first package, 2 packages, and then it's become less about results and more just about coming in and, again, just coming in to train, social. So just the value change over time.
Yeah. And I think really that's the actual, I mean, for my clients, that's the goal. Like you want to get people to a place where they're happy with their body comp. You've developed their training capacity to an extent that they're actually able to train hard. That gives you a lot more freedom with how many calories you've actually got to work with in your life. And you can start to then build a sustainable, ongoing nutrition and lifestyle plan where they just operate in a fairly automatic fashion and keep themselves in good shape all the time.
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay. What best describes your expectations? Right. Casey, how do you go with this question? What boxes are people most often ticking?
I would say a lot of people do get emotionally down on themselves. Like they're there and they're paying the money because they're in pain. So I would say like the first box most likely every time.
And so what are the actual daily expectations that are placed on the clients?
That they're getting in their food, that they're getting their steps and training. I think more so when someone doesn't get their training in, that's when they go off plan and get emotionally down.
Yeah.
And that trickles down into going off the food plan.
100%. The training's the glue that keeps everything together.
Yeah.
And so what are the systems that you have to actually monitor the expectations that are set?
So we have a daily tracking system where in Google Sheets, they will log their sleep, their food, their cycle, steps, if they've had anything off plan. And then we've got a notes section, which for my clients, I get them to mark if they've trained or not.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And are people pretty good with logging in and getting that done?
Yeah. Well, my clients are.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
Soph, what about you? Yeah, what do you guys reckon?
Well, a couple of mine are pretty slack with it. Like I'll bring it up quite a bit and they'll be like, yeah, I'll do it. I check, it's never done. And I say the same thing, yeah, I'll do it. That's never done.
Yeah.
I find with my experience, the ones who do track it the most consistent are the ones who are getting the best progress or the best results.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ones who don't are the ones who don't progress as well, or who are just happy to come in and train for the sake of it.
Yeah. Bailey, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, same with Jordan, to be honest. Most of my clients are pretty good with that. They do track.
Yeah.
And I'm on to them when they don't anyway. But I do have one or two that don't. And exactly right, Jordan's right. They are the ones that don't have the most progress.
Yeah.
There's only so much I can do. And more information on those sheets anyway, the more I can help. But there's some that slack and they always have some excuse to do it. But most of them do track.
Yeah, so there'll always be it's a pretty straight correlation for people that are diligent with filling in things on a daily basis and the results that they get. So when you said that you get on them straight away if they're not doing it, how are you going about doing that?
As soon as I see them, I'm onto them. I say, okay, cool. Why are we not tracking? Or if I check on the weekend or at night time, I'll give them a quick message like, hey mate, let's get onto this. We haven't done much on daily check-in. The more information you give me, the more I can help you. Let's get the most out of this. They're like, yeah. So I just keep them on like that. And as soon as I see them, I'll sit down and we do our check-in. First 10, 15 minutes, we check in, or 5 to 10. And then I'll go into their check-in and then there's nothing's done. And then I go, oh, cool. What happened? What happened here? And then they'll give me some excuse, or just go, oh, I couldn't do it, or I'll get onto it. And then it's like, cool. Like I said before, the more information you can put down here, the more I can help you so we can get more out of it.
Yeah.
Usually then they start doing it, but then, there's still some that's just slack with it.
Yeah. And there's only so much you can do. But I think, Soph, I think that's a good example. Like it's probably not in your personality style to like be out there and be on them in that way. And it's one of these things that if you've got clients that are existing and you've had them for a while and they're not doing it, it might be a little too late in the game to then rein them back in and get them doing it. But what you might do as you get new clients on board is start fresh and find your way of asking those questions. And I think what Bailey said there is really good. Ask them why they didn't fill it out. Oh, okay, you didn't have time to fill it out, or is there a problem with accessing the Google Drive, or is it you just didn't do the things and you feel bad about not filling out? Because I don't really mind. It's just good. I just need to know the information so that we can understand why or why not you may or may not getting results, and you're paying for all this, so you may as well actually do it. So that might be one area. I think it's great for getting client results. It's probably good long term for retention, and it will ultimately be better for them. And it's a process that sets you guys apart from a lot of other coaches and businesses in the industry. That level of daily accountability for Gen Pop clients. Like there's heaps of comp prep coaches that have those sorts of systems in place, but for general population, I think that's really cool. So, and Josh, when you get started and you get your first clients, you might want to have a think about how you're going to approach these issues, because 100% they're going to come up. There'll be some people that will be good and some people that won't be good with it. And so have a think about your methods and how you'll keep people accountable to that, and how much effort you're willing to put into each individual.
Yeah.
Okay, what is your occupation? So here I would be asking, obviously, what they do. I would then go into a series of questions about what their job is actually like. So I like to find out, specifically what roles they do within their occupation. This is an opportunity where you can start to clear the space and break down some barriers in the actual consultation space if they're not giving that much energy or information away. People are often actually quite interested to answer questions about what they do, because that's what they do all day. And so it's a good way to actually find out about how their day is currently structured, so you can get an idea of how you'd be working with their nutrition and meal timing and compliance, food prep and all that kind of stuff, their stress levels and everything like that. But it's a good way to get an understanding as to what areas of the day they get stressed, for instance, or what tasks stressing them out. Do they have to manage other people? If they're in a management position, there's always stress involved. So I would be asking not just what their occupation is, but a series of questions around what they do. Do they enjoy their job? And all that kind of stuff. I think it's a good way into developing the rapport between you and them. And then you've got a heap of questions and things that you can follow up with in those first few sessions when you're just trying to break the ice, right? Activity level of your occupation. Josh, I'll put you on the spot here again, mate. Yep. Why would we be asking these questions about levels of activity during their work?
Just see, if they're in an office job, how long they're sitting around for, if they're like getting up and moving during their job. Just see how active they are during the day.
And what is the why do you want to know how active they are? Like once you get that information, why is that relevant to what we're doing?
I guess when you're setting the step target, for the day, see how much they can, or how much they're already doing, and then you can see what they need to do more.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, that's
and
the
yeah,
that's what
that's
I'm getting
about
at,
it.
right? So
Yeah.
that's exactly right. So you guys will be setting steps for them. You've also got to set up their initial nutrition plan and assign calories for them. So you need to have have a scale of how active they are when you're filling in the formulas in the nutrition system to calculate their calories. So it's actually quite important to have that level of information down so that you're assigning or applying the right deficit for them.
Yeah.
Jordan, is that how the nutrition design works? You have the templates that you follow, so you'll once you finish this, you go and put their height, weight, and everything, activity levels to then get a calorie number. Is that right?
No. No. So we don't have that. We don't put the weight and everything, get a rough calorie number, but we do have a tracking sheet,
Right.
which you can put the weight in. That is the range. Yeah. So
Oh,
it's not
okay.
on the nutrition template itself. You have that tool. Yeah.
Oh, right. So there's a tool in the nutrition template
Yeah.
that
No,
calculates the calories for you. No.
Yeah, we do, Jordan.
Um,
It's on the
Yeah,
page.
and
with
then-
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes. Yeah.
No problems. All right. Stress levels. Bailey, what box do you find getting ticked the most with your clients here?
Oh, this one varies, to be honest. Of course, it varies on the individual, but on average, I'd get most that would say moderate.
Yep.
But again, I'm at the stage where I've just met them, so that if it was high, I don't think they would tell me it's high or why it's high.
Right.
So usually they would go moderate.
Mhm.
And then I'll try my best to break it down as much as I can without obviously getting too in depth. But most of the time, it's usually moderate.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone want to have a go explaining why it's important to actually know how stressed a client is?
Yeah, I'll go. A lot of my clients have it. So I've noticed when clients are stressed, it's affecting their sleep, digestion, and then just ability to show up. And internally, their body is just releasing so much cortisol, and their body has gone into fight and flight. And what that does is their body is so stressed that it's only going to do the essential things. So the idea of losing weight isn't a priority. So it sort of holds onto your fat stores instead of being in that relaxed state where your body is willing to let go of fat.
That's a very good answer. Very good answer. You've obviously spent a bit of time looking into the stress response.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've listened to a few podcasts on it.
Yeah. So the way I kind of I think about stress is like it's a positive and a negative thing. It's necessary to get everything that they need done. Whenever you train, you're essentially inducing a low level stress response. So stress hormones will start flowing, cortisol, adrenaline, all that kind of stuff gets going. So essentially with the training program that we're putting people under, we're applying an additional stress to their life. If we're putting them in a caloric deficit, then we're applying a nutritional stress to them. So we just have to have an idea of how much it's called the allostatic load. So it's the combination of all stresses in your life and how each individual can actually cope with that. And so you might have someone who's like a high level executive or a lawyer or someone like that, and they have a moderate to high or a high stress environment, but they're actually quite capable of dealing with that stress because they've done years and years of study and long hours, and they're well adapted and genetically predisposed to handling intellectual stress and work stress very well because that's what they do. But if you were to take them into a physically stressful environment, maybe get them to do so. If you got taken into their workplace and asked to do their job, we would find that extremely fucking stressful. If we took them into the gym and got them to do even one of our very, very basic workouts, but literally do the same workout that we were doing with the same weights that we're using, it would be like physical torture to them. It would be such a foreign, physically stressful event. So it's always working this balance between how much stress the individual can actually take, and you kind of don't know until you've pushed it too far. It's like a fine line to walk, but understanding where they're at and how much stress to actually apply to them is, I don't know, it's a bit of an art form.
How would you, because at the moment I do have a few clients where they're like potentially might have Hashimoto's or an underlying condition.
Right.
How do you communicate to a client that the reason why their scale weight isn't coming down per se is due to their life being so stressful?
Okay.
And then, like in the gym, they're wanting to push, and I'm like, no, we need to take it easy because you're not going to recover. And they don't understand that. It's like 100% or nothing.
Yes, yes. It's kind of like a personality type that you're dealing with. Sometimes that takes clever programming. So if you've explained all the rationale to them as you have then, which is pretty clear and makes a lot of sense, and intellectually they probably actually understand that, then you might actually have to, in their training program design, actually program less overall volume or change up the nature of the actual workouts so that they're not quite as stressful as as they have been for this period of time, until they can start to actually get into a better recovery cycle, start to get sleep a little bit better, and start to get more balance.
Okay, so for example, like I had a client who had 4 training days a week and they were quite big sessions. What I did instead was I made them 30 minutes, but she was training 5 days a week. So she thought she was training more.
Yeah.
I got her doing 5 days and it was more accessory work.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That would be, this is something that we'll cover later as well, but basically with every training program design, we've got our 3 variables that we play with: intensity, volume, and frequency. We can never be pushing all of those 3. Like ultimately the best thing to do to get massive, for instance, would be to lift super heavy for lots of sets and lots of reps every day. But it's just not a sustainable reality, right? So we have to pick, are we doing more intensity this phase? Is it more of a volume phase? And how frequently are they training? But if someone who's stressed, they can't necessarily take a lot of intensity and they can't also take a lot of volume. So the one that the variable you lean on is frequency. You do exactly what you did. You peel back the intensity and the volume of the workouts, but you give them more frequency. They might train 5 days or 6 days a week, because the training session itself is like a stress release in that instance. And they're still getting their activity. They're still getting some metabolic adaptations. They'll still get results, right?
Yeah. Okay, cool.
That's good thinking. Okay, the menstrual cycle. Why, Soph, I'll ask you, why would we ask this question?
This is actually a question I do, like most of my clients, they do say yes.
Yeah.
But put it this way, if one was to say no, I wouldn't really know like much about it, kind of thing. Like I wouldn't.
Well, like we're not doctors, and it's not our role to get too deep into that. But we are coaches, and we do understand that when menstrual cycles happen, that some females have changes in the amount of water retention that they hold, the cravings that they have for foods, their energy levels, their strength levels, and all that kind of stuff. So it can be as simple as if they say no, and it's not a regular menstrual cycle, you can ask a couple of questions as to, well, what does that irregularly look like? Like, is it 2 times? Is it frequently? Are they different days? Like, what's going on? And just say, okay, well, now that we know that there might be times throughout the training process where you might not actually be feeling too good, and you feel like you should have better body comp results than what you have, and you're feeling a little flat or puffy or whatever it is at that period of time, and it might just be because of the cycle. So let's not freak out when those things happen. We just know that this is going to be something that we deal with, and it might come up at different times throughout the course of the training. And then the other interesting thing to make note of there is that if you're testing body fat or scale weight or tracking metrics, there's only really one. Like if you're doing body fat, for instance, you kind of, to get a really accurate measure for a female, there's only really 1 day a month that you can do that. Like each month there'll be that day where it's far enough away from the last cycle, far enough away from the next cycle where everything's at its truest. And so if their cycle is irregular, it's going to be very hard to find those times when you're getting accurate body fat results. And so just to be aware of that, so that they're aware of that, so that they're not freaking out if the skin folds are up and down or their scale weight's up and down. So you don't necessarily need to dive too deep into what's going on or why. It's just to know that the feedback that they'll be getting from their body and their training might not be a linear process. It'll be sort of up and down, and you'll be looking for trends over time as opposed to linear progress.
Okay.
Makes sense? How often do you get up in the night? If so, why? This is a tough question, actually. Jordo, how do you go with this one, mate?
Yeah, so I'll just ask it basically like that. And I just give examples. So if they say, yeah, I'm like, okay, why? And they'll usually tell me like, okay, if they said they're highly stressed, do you find yourself waking up thinking? Is it as simple as you wake up needing to go to the bathroom? Do you have a crying baby? So I'll just branch into the reasons why.
Yeah.
And then I'll relate it back to the questions I asked earlier. So if I know they're highly stressed, more often than not, it's to do with that. If they've got a newborn, more often than not, it's to do with that.
Yeah.
I'll find out how much water, for example, they'll be drinking right before bed. That might be something.
Yeah.
So just branch that off.
Yeah, mate. Perfect. Great answer. So it's great to get that information. Once you have it, the cutting the fluids out before bed's an easy kill. Some of the other ones, it actually takes time and consistency to start breaking those patterns. So it's good to have the information. Implementing the solutions take a little bit of time and thought. Okay, do you have digestive issues? Casey, how many yeses and nos do you tend to get from your guys?
Nearly all of my clients have digestive issues.
Yeah.
I get given them because I've got a lot of digestive issues. So I'd say all of mine do.
Yeah.
It's just more so because they've come from a bad diet, or there's actually other things like bacteria in the gut and stuff. So
Right.
all of mine do.
Yeah, yeah. And is this an area, like you've had your own challenges with that? Is this something that you want to sort of lean on and specialize in?
I guess when I was training and Mick started training me, I said that I had digestive issues, and then he realized how bad they were. So all the information I know from it is just me doing my own research. And so I guess I sort of specialize in it because I just know what it feels like to say that you feel bloated and then someone actually believe you.
Yeah, yeah. And actually creating an awareness that that's not necessarily a normal thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's very common, but not necessarily normal. So a lot of people have digestive issues that they don't actually realize that they have. So even if someone was to tick the no box there and say they have no digestive issues, I would still be poking and prodding and asking these following questions and just checking, is there any bloating? Are there any foods that you eat where you feel a little discomfort afterwards? And start to figure out if there is something going on. I would say most of the time there is. Jordan, has that been your experience?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
A lot of people, like, to be honest, I get more 50-50.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm celiac, or yeah, dairy upsets me, or they'll say something along the lines, usually around the same thing. But the ones that say no, if I don't get it out of them straight away, I'll work it out pretty early on. Like, okay, after this, they're blocked up, or they go the other way, heaps of diarrhea, or I'll get stomach cramps. So from an initial 50-50 on that question, it usually skews to about maybe a 60-40.
Yeah, yeah, I would say that. I would say if someone's just been eating a typical kind of Western diet, which is reasonably healthy, they think it's a healthy way to eat, and then you get them on more of a whole foods based nutrition plan, it's then that they start to realize what it feels like to not have as many digestive issues. They're like, oh, they can actually notice the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. If yes to the above, what are the symptoms? I guess the other thing to note here, guys, is with digestion. It's great to identify all this stuff, and we can do what we can do with the foods that we suggest that they eat. And there's all kinds of little bits and pieces that you can do your research on. But once again, we're not actual doctors, and we're not here to prescribe and fix digestive issues with any means other than sort of applying basic kind of nutrition stuff. So I always try to stay in my lane as best I can with this kind of stuff. And if it's really bad, then I guess you need to know when to refer out. Please give details of your current daily nutrition routine. Okay, so this is where I would do what I call a daily existence checklist. So we'll do, Josh, I'll do it on you, man. So I basically, this is how I would go through the process here. So Josh, what time is your alarm in the morning?
7 o'clock.
7 a.m.
Yep.
And what time do you get straight out of bed, or is there a snooze button? What's the plan?
No, I get straight out of bed, brush my teeth,
Yeah.
do all my bathroom stuff.
Yeah.
Then for breakfast, I usually have 2 eggs, 2 pieces of toast.
2 eggs, 2 pieces of toast. And what time's that?
It's probably around 7:30.
7:30. And have you had any fluids, water, coffee, or tea at this point?
If anything, water.
Just some water. Okay. So 2 eggs, 2 pieces of toast. How do you cook the eggs?
Flipped.
Right. Okay. And then you're out of the door?
Yep.
Yep. Into the
And
gym?
well, depending on the day.
Yep.
I'd say for like today, nothing. But yeah, say with today, then probably around 1 a.m. I have lunch, just like a big bowl of spaghetti.
Mm-hmm. And
Sometimes.
So
Yeah,
you'll have like a today was a bowl of spaghetti.
Yeah.
And was it beef mince that you had with that?
Yeah, beef mince.
Do you know how much you had?
250 grams.
250 grams of beef mince, and then with a bowl of pasta.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any veggies or salad with that one?
No.
No. Okay. And is that a typical kind of lunch, or is that just one of the different lunches you have on rotation?
One of the lunches. Yeah, I usually have that like 4 times a week.
4 times a week. Okay. What are the other lunches that you have?
Usually just one of those muscle chef meals.
Yep. Muscle chef meals. So that'd be once again like a 250-gram portion of protein with a little bit of starch and some veggies or something.
No, it's not. I don't think it's 250 grams, that one. It's in total. I think that one's like a 500 and something calories.
Okay.
You know. Or
And
just
so
like a variety of whatever.
And so you'd have that 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the spaghetti 3 to 4 times a week. Okay. So that's lunch at 1 p.m.
Yeah.
Any coffee or anything you've had during the day?
No, I don't drink coffee.
No coffee. Okay, cool. All right. What happens after lunch?
So then I'll have either before lunch or after lunch, depending how I'm feeling. I'll have a protein shake.
Right.
I have like hard powder in it as well. And then I'll have just like a protein yogurt pouch. With like maybe those like Uncle Toby bars, muesli bars.
Right.
Like 2 of those.
2 of those.
And that's about it.
Okay. So that's all the food during the day?
Yeah, roughly, yeah.
Okay. And then you have dinner. What time's dinner?
Dinner's probably around 6, 7.
6 or 7. And what's in the rotation of your dinner meals?
Dinner meals are always the same. It's just chicken, like a cup of chicken, a cup of veggies, and then sweet potato chips.
Okay. And do you have anything to drink with dinner? Is it just water?
Yeah, just water.
Just water. Okay. And then any snacks or sweets in between dinner and bedtime?
Snacks, yeah, I'll have like a bowl of oats.
A bowl of oats. Okay.
With
With
a
water,
scoop
just
of-
water or milk, or how do you have
No,
it?
no, with a scoop of Biscoff, the Biscoff spread. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So you can see just by going through the process of actually asking the questions at what time and what things happen, how bits and pieces start moving around that probably wouldn't have got noted if we just got him to write that down or just to tell us what the rundown is. So I think you need to act. So the way I like to do it is to actually ask about the structure of their day, when they eat things, and what's going on. And like for someone like Josh or any of us really with our lifestyle, it's all pretty, it's a pretty regimented kind of easy thing, and we know what we're eating. For a general population client, you're probably going to have to ask a lot more questions and dig and really figure out what's going on, because each day can look different to the next. There's no consistency going on. Once you've done the Monday to Friday, you got to ask them about the weekends as well, because Saturdays and Sundays are usually very different to what a Monday through Friday is. So I would actually be spending a fair bit of time around this question, getting everything down. That makes sense? Yeah. Any questions on that? No. Cool. Right. Protein sources. So I gather this is all pretty self-explanatory. You're just asking them to tick boxes so you know what foods to assign. That's all good. Okay. Vegetarian. Do you get many vegetarians in there?
Yeah.
You do?
I think every coach I think has one or two.
One or two. Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's good. I mean, it's nice to it's nice to have the challenge of working with vegetarians. Yeah.
No, no, it is different. It definitely forces me to think a bit more. Like not that I'm not already thinking.
Yeah.
But it's not as clear cut. Like I've got one guy who's a competitor. And where I'm just like simply like, okay, cool, I want to increase protein here. Let's put a breast piece of chicken or something in. I can't do that. So I've got to do a bit more research. Like, okay, what can I increase protein with?
Yeah.
Without raising carbs, without just giving him another protein shake, because I actually want him to be having whole food.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a real challenge. So, the thing with this is when you do have a vegetarian is to set the expectation nice and early, and then basically explain the dilemma that you're just describing there, Jordan, which is, like for you to get the amount of bioavailable protein in your nutrition plan, and for us to hit the a deficit of energy if fat loss is part of your goal or body recomp is part of your goal, then it's going to be a challenge to hit that protein target whilst keeping your carbohydrates within a desired amount and giving you adequate amounts of fat to keep everything on order. So as long as you actually explain the challenges with that and they're aware of it, and so it sets an expectation of how they can expect their results to actually flow compared to what it might be like if they were eating just a super clean whole foods animal proteins based diet. It's just important to set the actual expectation so that they know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. How many meals can you fit into your day? Casey, what do you reckon the average meal intake is for your guys?
I think 3, or people just graze all day and then overeat at night.
Yeah, right. Yeah, 3 to 4. Soph, what about you?
Yeah, 3 to 4, or a couple of mine just say whatever is needed. If they don't really know how much they should be eating, kind of thing. There's like whatever is needed to get me like to where I want to be. Like I'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. So, look, it's like it's for me, meal timing and everything is kind of lower on the list of priorities. Like, if you've got someone who's got a very specific hypertrophy goal, then obviously, they need to be fueling protein synthesis over a constant period of time, so a higher meal frequency and enough protein, blah blah blah. But for general population, as long as the calories are right and the macros are good, everything's going to end up getting to where it needs to go ultimately. When I'm dealing with my clients, I usually explain things in weekly blocks. So if they're 3 to 4 meals, they're having sort of 23 to 27 meals in a week. And so I get them to visualize what a week's worth of food is like up on that table, with every meal spread out. And then we look at those meals and figure out, what's going on, where can we take calories away from here, what can we change, what can we do there. So I don't get too fixated on the meal timing or meal frequency. So the timing is important in terms of fitting it into their actual structure and creating routine and structure. But how many meals they have a day doesn't really faze me too much, unless it is that specific goal we were talking about before. Okay, have you followed a nutrition plan before? Do we find that many people have actually followed a plan before?
About 50-50 again.
50-50?
But then a lot of them who would say yes, it'll turn out, if I haven't worked out already, like a fad diet. Like they'll say, oh yeah, I did isogenics or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Soph, in your experience?
Most of them say yes, and then I always ask, I was like, and how did like you go following that plan? And they're like, oh, it didn't work, I didn't follow it. So I was like, you really didn't follow it then. So I take that as a no kind of thing.
Yes. Casey, how about you?
Yeah, 50-50, or people have just tried MyFitnessPal and just sort of played with it themselves.
Yeah. Okay. It's a good start. Yeah, so it's good to know. Look, so what I'd be doing here is exactly what you guys are doing in figuring out where they're at, and if they've never followed a plan before or they've partly followed a plan before, I would explain to them what it's actually like to follow a nutrition plan, what it's actually like to have to weigh your food out, and the amount of preparation that's involved in all of that, and set the expectation that essentially the biggest barrier to their success with compliance to a nutrition plan is going to be the actual preparation and the organization. If people have the food there, they can eat it. But it's when they find themselves in a situation when they're short of a meal or they're not organized, that they make poor choices. So I would go through a bit of detail to explain what it's like to actually follow a nutrition plan and what level of initial commitment is going to be needed. Once you get it set up, it gets very easy. It's like anything, hard at first, much easier as it goes along, and you get better at following a plan as you go. Okay, so this is where this question comes in. What preparation method do you wish to use? So the key here is that there is a preparation method. So once when I'm talking to a client about this, I'll actually ask them, okay, how are you going to, once I've given them the plan, how are we going to actually follow this plan? How are you going to prep these meals? Are you going to bulk cook on Sunday nights and Wednesday nights? Are you going to get a meal service? Will you do it all on Sunday and freeze meals? Do you have containers to package up your food and take it? Are you putting each separate meal in a separate container? Are you just putting a whole lot of chicken and a whole lot of salad and some rice in one container? Like literally, what is the physical process that you're going to go through to prepare the food that you need to actually eat it? And then I get that down in writing. And then when I send through their plan, I write out or I send an audio overview explaining to them what they've explained to me as to how they're going to do it. So it's crystal clear. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay, please answer this question carefully. Which best describes the approach of nutrition food choices you will feel best suit you? A rigid approach, strict plan, flexible approach, combination of both. So I guess this is similar to the question that was asked earlier, but we're looking at like an if it fits in your macros kind of thing with the flexible approach. Is that right?
Yeah.
Sorry,
More
sorry
so-
to interrupt. I've just got to go. So I'll just say goodbye.
Yeah, no problems.
Wait a minute.
Good contributions today, mate. I enjoyed that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, Bailey said to say thank you as well. He had to go a little while ago.
Yeah, it's fine. No dramas. He's good too. So are many people following the strict calories macros plan?
Generally the ones that come in and say, yeah, I want this result, we need to achieve this by this time, will say that.
Yeah.
More like I'd say for me, most people tick that, but again, it's the ones that tick it versus the ones who actually comply to it.
Actually do it.
Some people will say flexible, and then I'll go more into depth about that. It's like, okay, when you say flexible, I'll come into questions like, okay, what does that look like for you? Do you want to follow it strictly, then have looser on the weekend? Do you just want to have that flexibility when you have the odd occasion come up? Do you not want to follow like a strict plan 24/7? You just kind of want macros to follow. I get different responses to that question.
Yeah. And so with the actual the flexible thing there, is this referring to actually setting, like picking foods for them that they can fit within their macros, like an if it fits in your macros approach, or this is just broadly about the structure that they're going to follow?
A bit of both.
A little bit of both.
A lot of the time, it's meal plan strict, or it's either a strict meal plan or macros, but sometimes there's a middle ground as well. It's like, okay, I want the meal plan strict, but I want to be able to like message you and say, hey, I'm going for dinner this Saturday night. Can we, like, for example, look at the menu and see what I can have, even if for that day we take something out of somewhere else to make it work.
Yep, makes sense. That's cool. Okay.
So gone as well.
See you later. Thank you.
Yeah, see you, mate. Take it easy. Okay. So
Probably wrap it up because I want them to be involved.
Okay. Tom,
Gotta
because
go.
saying, we might wrap up for now, because Bailey and Soph were two of the ones that he wanted involved for this.
yeah, that's fine, man. No worries. Look, we're oh yeah, it's 4:30 already. This always happens. Okay, that's totally fine. So yeah, we'll wrap it here. Look, we're pretty much through most of it anyway. There's a couple of bits and pieces we could go through, or I might finish that off at the end. But that's cool, man. Thanks for coming along. Nice to meet you both.
Nice to meet
Josh,
you.
I guess we'll be talking again pretty soon over the coming weeks.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, good to meet you.
All right, guys.
Awesome, Tom. Thank you for your time. Awesome to meet you,
Cheers,
mate.
mate.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure. We'll talk again soon.
No worries.
See
See
you
you,
guys.
mate.
Bye.
Catch you
Bye.
later.
Bye.